The morning interview on Citizen and now about CBC. And with this trend, he'll also agree with me that William Ruto is the president, because we are agreeing virtually over everything. But, Honorable Speaker, this thing about CBC is something that really this House needs to make a serious recommendation and stand firm over it. And it's becoming something that is very, very expensive. Majority of the members of this House happen to represent constituencies from remote areas, different places. The way our country is set up in such a way that most of the constituencies are from the rural areas. And, but when you look at the formation and the structure of CBC, it focuses on the target of the rich and the people who live within the urban setup. I think for some reason, Honorable Speaker, somebody wanted to rush this whole thing about CBC for whatever reason that befits them then. And I think it's important for government to realize that this, it wasn't part of our plan, by the way. This wasn't part of the Kenyan plan. It wasn't part of the manifesto by the Kenya Kwanza. This was a setup. This was a hub for somebody to make money in the previous administration. And there is need for us to review that. It's very important for this education committee that sit here to realize that, because parents are struggling. Back in the village, parents are struggling. We all represent constituencies. Every day, students are sent home for something. Nowadays, teachers, and I say this with a lot of respect, some teachers, not all teachers, rogue teachers, sit in the staff room and decide that the afternoon lesson is to learn how to cook chicken. And they decide and say, all the students should go at home and come with chicken so that we can practice. And then they start, what is the teacher doing? The teacher is cooking chicken. What is the teacher doing? Then they are eating chicken.
Order, member. Order, Honorable Soro. There is a point of order. Honorable Mboko Milemba.
Oh, no. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Leader respected, I don't think CBC itself is being defeated simply because of teachers. This is a very weighty matter that requires thinking through and not just blaming the teachers. And there are no teachers, Honorable Member, who are even teaching how to eat chicken. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Continue, Honorable Osoro, without casting aspersions on teachers. I want to warn you, the population of teachers here is quite some.
Honorable Speaker, it's important to say that my late father was a teacher, and I have tremendous respect for the teachers. What I say is that in...
Honorable Rosa, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, is the former Speaker in order in suggesting that in this country there is no curriculum in our education system, that any teacher can wake up any day and decide what to teach. That if a teacher wakes up that he wants to teach how to cook chicken, she can go ahead with it. Is the Speaker, the former Speaker, in order in suggesting that we don't have a curriculum in our system that the teachers follow?
Sorry, Speaker, I am not a former Speaker, so I don't think that question was referred to me. I should ignore it. But I wanted to say this, that the whole thing has, I don't know, it wasn't, I think she wasn't referring to me. There is a former Speaker seated somewhere, I think, in this plenary. But, Speaker, Madam Speaker, when I use the context of chicken, I don't really mean that teachers do that. I'm saying that people, some rogue teachers have decided to misuse, not generally, some. Because we've actually seen such scenarios across. But even before we finish these orders, I want to make my point, and I'm sure, I don't know why Honorable McClap is really making a lot of noise.
Honorable members,
allow me to...
I would pray, Honorable Osoro and members, that we do not abuse the point of orders.
Please.
Be relevant, because I see members are using them to debate.
Okay. But I want to withdraw. Teachers are never rogue. They just like chicken. But as I said, they're never rogue. They like chicken. But, Speaker, But Speaker, that thing has been misused. The other day, last week, and I think it's very important for me to say this, I went to visit somebody in Diani, and I found students, the grade 6 students, just besides somewhere that I'm trying to put up somewhere in the coastal region. And I found students, grade 6, who were supposed to graduate to grade 7, seated by the road. And they could not be admitted in school because they did not have school uniforms. They did not have some, things that are required, like several requirements. And when I asked for that form, what I saw written in that form as requirements for a student transiting to grade 7 shocked me. Things that parents cannot afford. Things that, like you're telling a grade 6 student, now you're transiting to grade 7, you are giving them serious, expensive requirements for a parent who was preparing to save money for Form 1. I think we really rushed this thing. There is need for the government to review this CBC thing. And I do not know where these people of the committee of, CBC or something, I don't know what they are doing. Where did they move? They did not even come. I think these people are sitting somewhere eating mandazi and then go there and do recommendations that are funny. Honorable Speaker, I implore on this House to find a way to reverse this system back to the system that we all know. And then we gradually start moving. We do it gradually. Equip our schools. Look, here, as we are speaking here today, members of parliament do not have adequate funds for CDF. Today we have about 33 million. We are being told we need to do labs for purposes of JSS. The Minister of Education does not have money. Equalization fund is not sufficient across the country. And then we are here being told, CBC is important. Let's support it. Let's support it. We are representatives of the people. We are not stupid by going through 844 or 76 or something. We are very sharp people here. Let's revert to the previous system. Let's revert to the 844 so that our students and the rural constituencies can progress. And I think the chair for Education Committee has heard me, and this is very clear. Thank you very much.
Member for Githunguri, Gathonu wa Mushomba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to indeed, as a trained teacher, to give my contribution into this motion. It is sad and very sad that we are debating the future of the people God has entrusted unto us to shape their future, to give them life and hope. Those wonderful children that are going through this system, the CBC. It is unfortunate, Madam Speaker, that in this country, we do not give weight to the Ministry of Planning, whose core business is to plan the economy of this country. In fact, the most lucrative ministries in this country are ministries of health, ministries of agriculture, Ministry of Water and Land, not because we find them worth giving them weight, but because they control a lot of money. We ignore the critical ministries like Ministry of Planning and Finance, the ministry that is supposed to be giving us economic planning, well contributed and well thought, that is supposed to have advised us on the CBC before implementation. Like one of my colleagues have said, Madam Speaker, I still as a teacher do not understand why we had to go the million kilometers rush to implementing CBC. I do not know the people who sat in a certain boardroom and decided that they are going to implement CBC, even against the advisory that was given by the then Cabinet Secretary, Madam Amina. Madam Amina spoke very strongly against CBC implementation without thorough thinking and planning. But I do not know the kind of motivation that was behind the so-called the government of the day, that we had to take a risk to mess a generation in this country by hurriedly implementing a system that has not been framed properly. Madam Speaker, as a mother, it pains me to walk into schools like in my constituency and find 4 learners in a school which is supposed to be a JSS center. 4 learners. How do we employ 4 teachers for 4 learners? How do we put a laboratory for 4 learners? How do we buy equipment in the laboratory for 4 learners? Where are economic planners that are supposed to be advising the governments of the day? What are they doing and why do we pay them a salary in those offices that they sit? Madam Speaker, it is sad that we are politicizing the life of a generation of this country. We must come fresh and real to what we are doing. It is time we asked ourselves whether we are doing justice to the seats that we've been given by the people of Kenya. They have elected us so that we can advocate for the rights of their children. Most of these parents do not have a voice. We have a voice. Most of these teachers we are talking about and joking around here in Parliament, because I can see a joke here, they have no voice. We have a voice. We must stop politicizing CBC and become the parents God has made us to be. We must become the leaders that have been elected honorably to stand in the gap and save a generation. How many children are at home right now because they cannot afford uniform for JSS? How many children are at home right now because they cannot afford a desk? Madam Speaker, shockingly, these are the same children, runners who are in primary school. They had a desk, but just because they have graduated to JSS, they are being forced to buy a fresh and a new desk. For what purpose, Madam Speaker? It is us that God has entrusted us to do it. It is us the whole country is looking upon. It is us who are supposed to advise, and we must stand in the gap and provide a sober direction for JSS. If we cannot be able to implement JSS, we would rather stop it and get back to the drawing board and look for a solution, because we are going to be asked by God, why did you not do what you're supposed to have done? I do not understand the rush. I do not understand the thinking behind JSS if we cannot be able to implement. Madam Speaker, please, I want to be heard. One day, one time, if we ever go to heaven, that we read there, we shall be asked a question. I don't know what you will answer as a member of Parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.